Hi everybody, Steve with Victory for Veterans, and I'm joined by Terry Jenkins, CEO of ETAC, and we're going to chat about the strategic partnership that Victory for Veterans and ETAC have joined into. So Terry, thanks for coming in and chatting and letting Victory for Veterans folks know, and also ETAC folks know about what this is all about. So if you could, tell us first about your military background.
Sure. Almost 7 years. Got out in '99. Was Air Force TAC PJTAC, which is kind of one of the special ops realms. More or less, did close air support. Served in Germany. Was in Louisiana. Did some time in Bosnia. And got out in '99. My main reason for joining was this is a kind of a family heritage type thing. My father was a SEAL and did a couple tours in Vietnam. My grandfather was a 30-year Army guy. My father-in-law is a 30-year Navy guy. Both of their fathers were military.
Wow.
My brother's in Annapolis, just retired from the Marines from that. So it's, and then now I've got two sons and a son-in-law in. So it's a heritage is part of what we do. I'm proud of that time, and it's been a long time since I've been able to connect with that. So, coming into this program that we're launching now with the veterans that we've had going on for about a year now, it's been able to get me reconnected back into what I liked about the military, and it allows me to fix what I don't like about, the military. So it gives me a purpose.
Too, huh?
Yeah.
Before you do that, talk to us about the IT background, because when you got out of the service and you've been in the IT field for a while. Just briefly touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main founding principles around what we're doing in IT apprenticeship is basically a model of what I went through. So when I got out in '99, not a whole lot of programs. There weren't a lot of Victory for Veterans out there. There weren't companies like ETAC out there that were specifically going out to help veterans. So I got out, and honestly, my goal in life was to be a truck driver.
Okay. A little bit different than IT.
I've been deployed. I was used to being by myself. I didn't mind a long road, long hours, like road trips, $100,000 to go driving a truck. It's the lifestyle I was used to. I figured maybe I'd stay married longer that way, but that didn't work out. That was my ex-wife. It was just, these are the things that were going through my mind at that age, getting out. And I got out, and honestly, my grandfather, I went to him to get the money to go to truck driving school. I think it was like $3,000, and he refused to give it to me. He had it, said, I can give it to you, but I won't. He said, because I don't necessarily want you just to be stuck in something. I think you're going to regret this later.
Wow.
My father at the time, had just done a career change and was teaching some Microsoft engineering certifications. So he called me up and he said, hey, if you come up here, I can let you use my instructor books. You don't have to pay for the class. I talked to the owners of the company. They said you can sit in the back of the room. I said, all right. So we jumped in the car and we drove from Georgia to New Jersey, and that's where we're going to live until I get this done. So I went into classes, I studied, I got that. I started out in a couple jobs. I think my first job was a fairly good salary, but it took me 6 or 7 months to get to that point because I had no idea how to interview. I had no idea how to write a resume. I mean, the first 10 jobs I took, I literally targeted jobs that I knew I could not get. I knew I would be fired if I got them because I didn't want to waste something that I really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I needed to go blow some interviews. I knew I needed to ask the guy interviewing me, what's wrong with my resume? What would you do different?
That's good. That's an unusual question in an interview.
Because even then, to go get a resume written, it's much like it is today, $300, $400, $500 for somebody to write your resume, and you have no idea whether that's even the right way for your industry. It's still generic. Yeah. The only thing I did realize is that what the military had helped me prepare was not good. That resume was just, it wouldn't even get me a job call, so I had to learn a lot of that as I went through. And then once I got in and kind of got my first couple jobs, I moved up. I did a lot of contracting. I did some training. I did some full-time positions, different size businesses. But I had a knack over the years, and I still think I kind of do, is looking at the technologies, looking at the market, and I have a very simple philosophy is, if I wanted to work strictly because of a purpose, I would have stayed in the Air Force. I joined the Air Force not as a job, as a calling,
yes,
if you would.
Sure.
So when I got out, I was like, well, now I'm going to work for a salary. And I should target myself if my goal is to provide things for my kids that I didn't have, is to go for the skills and opportunities that were worth the most amount of money.
Sure. Yeah.
So I started to get a knack on watching the market, watching technologies, watching different skills that were coming and going, and making sure that I strategically moved my career with the IT market, because the IT market changes so rapidly. And somewhere around 9/11, as a contractor, I was having really great months and then starving for 3 months. It was the normal contracting mode, which I didn't mind. My wife a little more. So she looked at me and said, why don't you go get a real job? And I went straight to the top. I went after a vice president position in Merrill Lynch. And long process. I'll never forget it. 16 interviews to get in. Wow. A couple months. It was a big deal. Got there and started working in a major, Fortune level company, doing major data center design, big architecture projects, surrounded by people that were just brilliant, and really learned to do that. But what that opened up was, it opened up a lot of connections and contacts with me, because Merrill Lynch was such a large customer for companies like Cisco and whatnot, that I started meeting Cisco execs. And that period on for the next 10 years, I just kind of mastered that. I moved from Merrill Lynch into Lehman Brothers, Barclays Capital, UBS. I kind of just moved around that financial circle in New York, just building very large data centers. And when the banks failed, I was fine, but I was kind of done. I was like, I'm done with that, just corporate. I looked at my wife and said, all right, I went and got the job. Can I go back out and do my own thing again? And that was kind of our mentality. And we did a major shift. It was a big deal. We obviously were dealing with a lot with the market crashing and our money situation, all this, because that blindsided everybody when that happened. Yeah. But it put me back out in the market training again. And then over the time, I've trained so many engineers. I've wrote so many programs for companies like Cisco to teach Cisco how to do Cisco. Things like this. That about a year ago, I just was getting kind of a rapid fire set of veterans that were reaching out to the company that I was running. That I was co-owning, and one after another. Hey, I want to get this new skill. People smart enough to know that some of the lower end certifications that are being peddled out in the market right now, the A+ was a certification that was peddled to me in '99. It's still being peddled today, and it's a defense contract type thing, so it's a little checkbox. But skill wise, there's no major corporations that are going to say, "Oh, that differentiates you. Come on in. We want you." Yeah. They're going to say, oh, yeah, that's nice. You and a million other people
like a high school diploma.
Right. So seeing some of these veterans come to us and saying, well, I want to get wireless training, or I want to get, cloud training or data center training. I was like, they're smart. They've done the research, because they shouldn't know that coming out of the military. And but my problem is those courses and those companies and that industry is centered around a corporate to corporate, business to business type model. So I have to look at a veteran and say, the class price is $5,000 for 5 days. Yeah. I mean, I can cut you a deal for $2,500 and lose margin, but that's the price, and vets can't pay that when they're coming out of the transition. So it forced me to make some calls and start working some connections and go into the VA and seeing if there was some other way around it to get their benefits, because predominantly these programs are not covered by the GI Bill. Because the GI Bill is around a university model. It's not around a cutting-edge model like this. And one thing led to another. VA, DOL. I said, I want to do something different. They said, go for it. And a year later, here we are. We actually have a program that can get these guys in these same marketable skills that the companies are training their internal engineers on, and yet we can do it in a model that actually fits and works for a veteran: pricing, timing, teaching style, all that. So it's so that's kind of where it came from. It's hard to talk about my story or talk about the company without the two together, because it is me.
Yep. So you've obviously got many years in IT. Being a veteran, you cared about other veterans, and this led you to spinning off and just focusing on this particular group of folks, veterans and families of veterans, and helping them. This is primarily thinking of their transition, getting out of the military and then entering the business world, which is, of course, a big challenge for them. And I know we have the pre-apprenticeship and then the apprenticeship. And what's the demarcation between the pre and the registered apprenticeship?
Right.
What is that demarcation?
So in short, what we figured out was, for one, veterans shouldn't come out, and so many of them do. They come out in the market and they think they have two choices. Whatever Uncle Sam told them when they showed up, shaved their head and said, "You're going to drive trucks." And they go, but you're going to drive trucks. You don't really have a choice in this right now. So they go do it for 10 years. They move up in their career. They're rewarded. They kind of get some forced. Don't you like being a truck driver? You just got it right. Yeah, I like being a truck driver because I don't have a choice to say anything else.
Right.
So when they come out, there's a large portion of them that say, "Well, I'm going to go be a truck driver." Now, there's some practicality in that, and that's fine. You got a skill, you're earning, you're doing this. But a lot of people that get out of the military, it's a release from prison type mentality. It's like, I'm free, I want to get out. And the last thing they want to do is go back into the same thing they did, because if they really wanted to still be a truck driver, then why not stay with a guaranteed paycheck? Why not stay with the benefits? Why not stay with this? Why not stay with that? You know? So a lot of them are looking for a change because they want to kind of get out and do something different now. Maybe do something a little less physical. You know, they've been deployed, they've been doing all these things. So the idea of having a regular job with stability and being at home and seeing their kids.
Not having to move.
Yes, it's very attractive to them. So those that don't come out and just follow along straight into what they did, and this is part of the thing that motivates me, is they come out and they immediately hang their head, they look at their shoes, a little Eeyore, oh me, I made a bad decision. I should have went to college, because now I'm behind people that went to college. And they literally, because I don't think the military does a very good job of explaining to them what skills they're taking out into the market. They don't realize that while they were being forced to drive a truck, they were being forced to also take responsibility and leadership and management capabilities that they have no idea. So they think that's worth zero. So they don't put it on their resumes. The TAP offices and transition offices do not help them do a very good job of doing that. Basically, they come out with resumes that would be very good if they were trying to get back in the military doing the job they just left. But it doesn't translate to employers. That employers have no idea what an MOS is or what 2nd Brigade, 3rd Battalion. They don't even understand the language.
That's Greek. Yeah, you bet.
And then the only skills that are represented on there are truck driving. There's nothing about management. There's nothing about project management. There's nothing about all the things that actually are a very, very big part of what we do in the military that are very attractive and lucrative for, corporate customers. They would love to know they had somebody that could actually do that. Compared to some of the kids coming out of college that have been, this shift to entitlement type mentality. Most of them are coming out of college with a degree, but they have no responsibility. There's no trust from an executive. I have a hard issue looking at them and saying, how do I give you a $30 million project? Now, I could look at a military guy and go, okay, if you've done all this stuff, you were responsible for $1 million worth of equipment when you were 18 years old.
Right.
I feel more comfortable, but if you don't tell me that, I have no idea.
Sure.
So what we found out over that year is that we couldn't just jump straight into, here's some IT skills. The trigger is with the Department of Labor, it fundamentally being a Department of Labor program, it's an on-the-job training program. So for me to enroll them, literally to put them in the system, I have to list an employer of record. So they have to have a job. It being an on-the-job training program, they have to have the on-the-job part.
They need a job.
Right. So what we found is that it was a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. I can't necessarily walk them straight in. Nobody has handed me, out of the 500 or 600 vets that I've met over the last 9 months, not one has handed me a resume that I can just go hand to an employer and get it. So these guys are coming to me saying, I'm like, how long have you had your resume out there? Where do you have it? Okay, you got it in some of the right places, but how long has it been out there? 4 months. How many interviews? I've got 2 calls. It's not connecting them, and it's certainly not showing up at the top of 2,000 in the stack. So as we looked at this, we went back and we revisited the program. We shaped it. It's constantly evolving. That's the same change of why we split off ETAC from a joint venture we had, just to go solely down this, 100% of our resources, because it's going to be one of those things where you have to constantly change it to fine-tune it towards the vets.
Sure.
So now what we do in that pre-apprenticeship is we really focus on all the stuff that they need to even get into the job. We write the resume for them. We're not going to coach you. It takes too long. So we get it, we take it over, we write it, we put it in an IT resume format, we bring all those soft skills. We have some meetings with you to pull that out type thing, but we do that because we'll do it faster than you can.
Yeah,
and it's about time right now.
Sure, they don't have much time.
So we go through that, and then we coach them, we drill them, we talk to them as if they're almost still in the military. What to wear, what not to wear, what is hanging up on the wall behind you when you're doing the phone interview, and it's got a video feed on it. What color tie do you wear? Where do you sit at the conference room table? How do you answer, what's the worst thing you've done in your last job? They have no idea, and you know what? They're military. They're prideful. They'll turn around and go, oh, well, I got drunk and I went to, they're honest. Their integrity is there. So I have to kind of coach them and go, okay, yeah, we don't really want to go there. We want to kind of answer it with, well, the worst thing I did in my last job was I worked too much. We want to have these kind of nice things that we say back, but you got to be ready for it because they're testing your character.
Yeah.
So it's a full 360 degree kind of from that point of view. We doing the resume, their social media profiles, get them the job interview skills. We do a military civilian kind of series of workshops that we do with them. How do you deal with politics in a team environment? They're used to the military. It's whoever ranks the most tells everybody else to shut up. Right. Now you got to deal with this side. So I explain to people the things that may have gotten you promoted in the military may get you fired in the civilian world. It's not that they're bad skills. They're not suitable for this environment. You need to adjust them. So we do that. We make sure they understand what network engineering is and IT is, so they know what they're getting into in this beginning phase, so they can back out without getting overly involved. Because we don't want people just doing this that aren't going to be good at it. Our goal is not to put people in a job. Our goal is not to train people. Our goal is to try to kickstart people's careers in something that's going to last them another 10 years, 20 years.
Well, and like you said in your own career, not just pick the path of I can get in, but what's the top and how do I maximize my earning potential for my family? So therefore, that's where I'm going. So you're coaching them along that path. And so it sounds like you do some like business acumen discussions, resumes. You mentioned social media because, today is all about being on the job boards. And I know Jake, your son, was telling me there's 20 or 30 just veteran job boards, and I was like, serious? Wow. I know of ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor and LinkedIn and a few of those, but I was amazed.
Yeah, even LinkedIn, people don't realize how much LinkedIn has put back in connections, because LinkedIn started out being basically an online resume. It's all it was. Today, it is an absolute breeding ground for recruiters and other companies to come steal you away. So they want to be able to talk to you, have a conversation with you, know that you're searching for a job, but you don't want anybody to know that you're searching for a job. So there's all kinds of things in the back end to let the recruiters and HR teams know you're available, but not necessarily advertise it out to everybody else. So same thing, normal vet comes out and they build their LinkedIn to kind of look like their Facebook. Great picture.
Yep.
That's not really
Yep.
showing me your dependability, or you're in there with, your dress blues on and all your medals, and I'm going, I don't want soldiers in my office. So
did you bring your gun and your knife?
right,
too?
we have to soften that a little bit to say, well, if you want to have the job, then you need to look the part type thing, and we build their profiles and stuff like that. But you're right, they have no idea. But we also cover technical stuff. We go over a lot of the emerging technologies and the things that are out there, so that the veteran understands,
what it's about.
What are the problems. I mean, I have a simple philosophy, Steve, is that my father told me many years ago, a job is great because you can work really hard, you can go over and beyond, and you're always rewarded. You get a paycheck. You don't get anything else. That's what you do it for. You get a paycheck. Mm-hmm. But you should always be responsible that you shouldn't take the money unless you're doing something to grow the business or helping the company. That's fundamentally why you have a job, is that you have something they don't have and they're willing to pay for it. So we want to make sure that the veterans understand that if you're going to go interview with somebody, you want a career with somebody, you need to understand what the business problems are. Mm. What are they trying to do? Why do they need to pay you $100,000? I've made a lot of money in my career, and I always start conversations with these guys that way. Is, every business runs a profit and loss statement. Yeah. By nature, I live in the loss. My salary costs money. Every time I open my mouth, they have to buy more equipment. They lose more profit. I'm always on the negative side. I've never created anything for a company. I don't sell it. I don't do all that. Yeah. But the reason they pay a ridiculous amount of money, and this is why IT has very, very high lucrative salaries, is because their businesses are dependent on it. Mm-hmm. So when it breaks, they are measuring and counting millions of dollars in a second, millions of dollars in a millisecond. So if they're going to lose $1 million in a millionth of a second, they don't necessarily have a hard time paying me $250,000 a year because, okay, but the key is I get that much money, somebody else gets $100,000. It's because I can fix the problem or prevent it much, much faster and more efficiently. Mm-hmm. So we try to connect
it and fix it.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, my world is around keeping them up and running. So that's what we try to connect with these guys, is understand what some of their problems are. Because when we built the program, there's a lot of veteran programs that are, a lot of university programs that are built around a simple philosophy. Hi, you're a vet. You just got out. What do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to be an interpretive dancer and wear tights and dance. Okay, that's fine. We have a GI Bill program for that. We can get you a good degree. But what's missing is that skill you're actually getting worth anything to anybody? Are there companies that need that skill that are willing to pay you for it? Because if they're not, you're unemployed. You're overeducated and underemployed. So we want to make sure that they understand the connection of what the companies are looking for and what they need. But that's why we didn't build our program around the veteran. The program in the company is for veterans, specifically to do the transition. Yeah. The program was built for the employers. We want to grow. I mean, I look at myself as somebody that's pretty good at picking out high quality clay. And then I go to you and say, what do you want? A plate or a bowl or a cup? Mm-hmm. Okay, I can make you a cup. So I could take a veteran, which is excellent clay, the most stable, ethical, they're not entitled. They don't get red in the face if somebody says that wasn't the best way to do it. They don't want to run home because they've been getting trophies. They've been in the military. They've been yelled at, for half of their career. So they're like, okay, I'll do it right. Let me do this way. They don't realize that that's a skill. So I have good clay. Yeah, yeah. But what I mold them into shouldn't be based on what they want to do in IT, because they don't know anything about IT. It should be based on what you, as somebody that wouldn't mind hiring a vet, wouldn't mind helping a vet, wouldn't mind having a good employee. But at the bottom line, you still have to check the main box, which is, are you going to help me from losing money? Mm-hmm. Right, so we want to kind of combine those models. So we carry them through some technology in the beginning, using the same teaching style that we're going to use throughout the regular registered apprenticeship program. So that worst comes to worst, they finish that 4 months and they're like, IT is just, it's not for me. I thought I could do it, but I don't think I can now. Okay, well, you still know how to better interview. You still know how to resume. You still got, you didn't waste time necessarily. You may have been the most valuable thing you've done, because had you not met us, you might have been out there applying for IT jobs for the next 2 years while you're unemployed, only to later figure out it wasn't for you. So even that is a good thing.
Or never get it.
All right.
Yeah, I just need to check this. Okay, at least it's working. So we've talked about the transition is sort of where we're focused here, and from Victory for Veterans perspective, and we've talked about even this thing behind us here talks about the number of suicides every day, which is what Victory for Veterans is. It's deep in our hearts, and we know that employment or lack thereof is one of many factors, but it's one of the key factors in suicides. So we as an organization have been looking for the jobs and the ways to keep people employed. I also have a tiny bit of IT background, but nothing like yours. So I know the strength and the market of IT world is very, very strong. So, when we came together, it was like, wow, this is like a match made in heaven in terms of you bring the part that I desperately want veterans to have. But as we also know, when they come out, they don't necessarily have the money. They may have a GI Bill to be used for something, and like you said, this is sort of outside that realm. Right. And so, our partnership is all about helping them in that to get started, really. And not all of them need the help. And I think what's really cool is we've made it into this. It's almost like a loan.
Right.
We're going to give it to you. There's no strings. We're not going to come call you 3 times a day and say you got to pay it back. But you mentioned they're loyal, they're hardworking. When they get to that successful place, they're going to pay it forward. They're going to return that money plus some. Right. And that way, as an organization, Victory for Veterans wants to build in sustainability, and this is a natural way for the veterans to keep it going.
Yeah, it's one meeting you guys, it changed this from my original goal in this was I was literally just a little turned off on what some of the other companies that I would describe only as they're preying on the veterans.
You're talking about training companies,
right?
In particular,
companies that are going after the GI Bill dollars. They're selling them into something. They're trying to act like they're a university. They're trying to act like they have all this, and then they run a guy through come down here, live away from your family. Come in this. We're going to train you in like 12 topics in 2 months. Every week we're going to charge you another full semester of GI Bill because we're going to get all that in. And man, we can help you spend $30,000 in 2 months.
Help you spend it.
And these are all super powerful certifications, which I don't have any of, and I wouldn't necessarily hire anybody that had them. They've had their day, they've moved on, but it's not enough. I can find millions of people with those credentials. So it's the bare minimum they could get away with to meet the program requirement. So originally when I came after it is, when I went to the Department of Labor and Department of Veteran Affairs, I mean, honestly, my motivation for doing the program was, and that time it was a joint venture, so this was just a business division, was just I could give them a better deal. I met you guys, and you confused me the first time we met because I was like, what in the world can I do with veteran suicide? I'm not, one, I didn't have that kind of background, so it didn't matter what I saw when I was deployed. I had to come home to a Green Beret grandfather and a SEAL dad. Pretty much wasn't anything that I saw in Bosnia was going to be able to match Korea and Vietnam. So, didn't even have the chance to turn around and say, I think this affected my life. All I heard was, get on with it, So I wouldn't even talk to people that were like that because I'd be afraid I wouldn't connect with them. I'd be afraid I would maybe make it worse. So when you came to me and said, "Oh, I think you could really help with our mission," I was like, "What can I do? I'm just an IT guy. I got some training. I can make it smarter, but how can I do that?" And you connected me with the thought of this that this can give them hope. And fundamentally, why do people get to that point is because they feel they'll be forgotten and they have no hope anymore.
That's right.
And so you changed it into a cause, which is why within a year, splitting this off, all we do now is just me, my 2 sons. We're the owners of the company. We own it all the way out. My father-in-law is also a part owner in the company, a veteran, same thing. 100% veteran-owned, family-owned. We're not going to let anybody deter what our mission is, and we don't want anything other than one mission, and that's fixing this problem. Because you're right, we can actually offer them hope. And it's a big responsibility because you can also give people false hope. So it's a very interesting process for me as a business owner to go through and be responsible and have the burden, and they keep me up at night. Their stories are incredible.
Yeah.
And yet refreshing, because you're right. I have some people that it's just pride. They're going through something really tough. I mean, it's anybody that's ever been through a bad job transfer thing knows that. I mean, you can go from having a house, a car, all your bills are paid, perfect credit, go do whatever you want, savings in the bank, to pretty much bankrupt in 6 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, your whole world can change. Yeah. And then the impact of that is long-standing. And, you go from your kids being, the starting football player on the Pee Wee League and doing this, that, to having to tell your kid, you can't do football now because we can't afford it. I mean, it hits you in so many different ways that you feel like it's a failure. I use the analogy that it really is, it's like being released from prison. You've had everything taken care of. You did your time. Here's your watch. Here's your wallet. Here's your bad T-shirt you were wearing that night. Open the gate, let you out. Good luck. Yeah. There's nothing for you out there. Go see your parole officer at the VA. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll help you. And it literally is that kind of model. And these guys have no idea. And they get out with pride. They're excited about it. Oh, I'm gonna go do my career now. I get to be a father now. I get to be a mother. I get to do this. And then just wham, right on their face. And and we should do better as a society to fix that. And if this is an area that's got a great potential for career and I've got the ability to do it, then you know what you more or less charged me with by us meeting was, why the heck do you care about all the other stuff? Why is this not the most important thing? That was the charge that I got in my life out of this, and my sons as well, to take the risk of doing it. But I think it's rewarding in that way, is that we actually can stop it. I mean, it blew my mind that I wanted to put proof in what we were talking about. I mean, and to find out that 20% of the suicides that are committed in the world, annually, 45,000 suicides committed annually around the world, out of all the suicides that happen, those 45,000 are directly related to unemployment. And I get it. Yeah. That's a horrible thing to go through. So we can help people. And, you go through people that are having that transition, they don't have the money, to I got people that are like, I can start in 3 weeks. I'm like, it's 3 weeks. That's another rent check. That's another card payment that's behind. That's another this. You got time is not
your friend, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the one thing you want to do when you're unemployed, is just push pause. I only need maybe 2 months, and then I can get a job and I can pay it all again. But that 2 months can cause me 10 years worth of damage, and they don't have a pause button. So some of them, I'm like, don't be dumb. Take what we can give you right now. You can give it back in 3 weeks. That's fine. I have to be a company, and I have to not allow people in for free. I can't, because then my business will collapse. I won't be able to help veterans if I can't.
And the sustainability fails then.
My model's a little different than your model, because, a lot of the costs and the things that I have in it, I need to cover the money now. I mean, $500 for roughly about a 100-hour investment per veteran. We kind of targeted at the McDonald's rates that I got when I was a teenager, not the ones I get now. So we're not trying to make money on this. We need to make some profit to make sure the company grows and is healthy and can do more, because we do want to change. We want to tackle 8,000 veteran suicides a year. Why not go after all of them? We want to have those kind of lofty goals, so we have to have a price in it. But that was the beautiful thing, is that people aren't going to go out and donate. I can't run fundraisers. I'm a business. I'm a profit company.
Providing IT services.
So even though they may hear me, they don't make that connection that this is actually a cause. And and I think that's where our relationship is extremely powerful, because you can get them thinking about it. You can say, okay, well, I'm Joe and I'm donating to Victory for Veterans, and Victory for Veterans is going to help fund somebody coming in ETAC's program. But that means that you now also have an oversight of me. I'm agreeing to make sure I do it right, which I don't necessarily have that responsibility as a for-profit company. That's right. Which is why ETAC and all these other companies, literally have laws written about them right now, because they did do that to vets. They were profit-based companies, and they could screw vets over. They could take their money and run. Yeah. So I'm agreeing to let you provide oversight into me to make sure that there is another level of somebody that would fight for the vet if I did it wrong.
That's right.
So we got the VA, Department of Labor, you guys, and then my own, wanting to have a good reputation in the market. We want to be able to go out with a simple message is, guys, we're here to help you, but in order to take help from somebody, you got to trust them, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to build with it. So,
well, I know that we talk about the transition, and we've talked about this before, that you really want to get them 6 months or actually maybe even a year before their target date of departure, because there's things we can work on, like this pre-apprenticeship portion of the program. You can begin to teach them the business culture, and they can begin to learn those things even though they're still serving. And so you told me the word TAPS. What is TAPS?
So every one of the military branches, they all have a program to help make the transition from military to civilian.
Okay. And
I don't want to come across as, those organizations are not good, because honestly, we've met a lot of them. Some of the most motivated, counselors and people that are volunteering, people that are working their jobs, they understand it's there, but it's a broken system from this aspect, and this is why sometimes they get a little bad riff. I think the resumes that most of the TAP offices generate out for the veterans are horrible. That's not because I think TAP is horrible. If I had the charter that transition assistance program, that transition office had, I'd be horrible too. Here's 250,000 vets a year leaving the military, going to civilian world. They can go into a million different industries. Exactly. Can you write them a resume? You have no idea where they're going. It's a one-size-fits-all, which means it doesn't really fit anybody.
Of course.
So they're trying, they're helping, they go out in their local markets, every one of them, they meet companies, they get companies to come in and talk to these guys. So they're not failing for lack of, passion or even function. I mean, they're doing what they do very, very well, but there's just not enough companies that reach into the military to help tweak that. There's not enough companies coming to say, listen, if you got guys wanting to go to IT, here's a way to write a resume. If you guys that, they're going to be a welder, well, they don't need a resume. They need a different product coming out. So it should be on our responsibility as private companies out here that see them as a pool of good talent to do the work to go in. But you know what? Most companies aren't people. They don't have consciences. They don't need to go do something. So it takes leadership out in doing that. So it's a good program. They try to do things to match people up, but I mean, basically look at their problem. They're going to say, okay, you didn't know anything at 18, so you have no other background to go off of.
Exactly.
We can't use McDonald's and Hardee's, right? So basically what you are in a job market is what we taught you. So they do a pretty good job of matching your occupation code or your classification to a comparable job in the market.
Okay.
Now,
whether I choose that or not.
Right. So here's the job that you would be most likely to get, because at least you've got 8 years of experience with it. Now, some of us don't even have that.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I got out, it was, there's nothing legal.
Legal that you can
what
do.
we taught you how to do, we really don't want you to do anymore when you leave the military. It's you don't have to talk on the radio, so you could be a taxi cab dispatcher or 911's hiring. I mean, it's a joke amongst our groups. It's like, what am I going to do? What do I do with the weapons training? I called airstrikes in from airplanes. It was my primary function. Not a lot of that around in the market out here. So some of us don't.
Yeah, so we were talking about TAPS and how companies need to actually go in and present and help the TAPS administrators to do their job. But we've created a nice little system, and so tell us about the idea of using the guys in the program to work with TAPS.
Yeah, and this is one example of a lot of different things we do, because we have this philosophy that you could either stand on the outside and yell at the VA. You can yell at the Department of Labor, but they're a government organization. If they're coming up with the ideas, we're in trouble, right? Their job is to do oversight on an idea that's already come up. So if it's broken, don't you have the responsibility to go try to fix it? And I've found that,
meaning the private sector.
it's actually all the way down to even individuals. It's because the vets have to fight with the VA in some ways, because fundamentally the VA office their job is to be somewhat of a gatekeeper, because otherwise there will be a lot of people taking advantage of it and pulling more money out. Right. So they have a gatekeeper role. Yeah. But you need other people that are going in, and I have talked to congressmen, I've written letters to the president, I've talked to the secretaries of labor and Veterans Affairs, and honestly, they're the regular guys, they're just like us, they put on their pants the same way, and most of the time I've walked with them, I have run into a couple things where we can't do that, that's a statute in place. There are some laws that are going through Congress right now that when I came in and I looked at them, I said, oh, that was just dumb. It just doesn't even make sense. And other people were saying the same thing. So you get a couple congressmen involved, boom, they propose a new law, and we actually think we have a law that's going to go through that's going to change a lot of what's going on to make it easier for companies to go out and do programs like this. So we have this kind of responsibility that I think we should have as a private company if we're going to go use this, because we should, over time, a lot of companies are going to benefit in a very good way by getting military talent out. Sure. Yeah. So they should have a stake in the game, skin in the game, as I like to say to all the vets, is to go do something. So we did the same thing with this. If the TAP program doesn't have a spin for IT to connect with people coming out, then why not kill two birds with one stone? I always tell my kids, hate when I say this, but I'm like, everything I do has got 5 reasons. It's your job to try to figure out what they are. But I'm always thinking about 5 different things at one time. And so when I looked at the loan that we're giving them, first we started with scholarships. Can't give the thing away. They won't take it. I mean, no matter what their situation is, I give it to somebody else. They're worse than me. Yeah. Like, dude, just take the money. They will not take it away. Too much honor, too much pride to do that. There's always exceptions, but so we were like, we got to have some way they don't feel like they're getting charity, because you know what? They have a point. If you're going to come after me and help me with this whole, we're trying to help with suicide and prevent it, and you understand where we're at, then why are you jabbing me in the face right now? Because getting more charity at this moment is literally making me feel worse. Yeah.
More like a failure.
Right. So how do we give them honor, self-respect, and hope even in that phase of it? Yeah. So we did the loan thing, and I think our idea is really good with that, is that it's a loan that has no payment date necessarily. It's on them to use their honor. It's an honor type loan. And when you feel you're back on your feet, pay us back. Now, also pay us forward. We want an interest rate. That keeps our fund alive, and now every one vet that helps, the person that's donating the money, they're donating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but over time 1 becomes 3, becomes 7, becomes 8. Yeah. So it's more like an investment fund than it is just a charity donation that dies every year. Exactly. But we turn around and ask the vets to do a little bit more. We want to be able to tell their stories so people know they're real people.
And we've got some on our websites.
We're putting those out now. We're going to start sharing those more, and people can interact with them. And then we're asking them to help us solve this problem. So they'll each give a couple hours each month to bases that are within their area. We're not going to ask anybody to drive 7 hours to go to a military post, but most of them can still get on base. Most of them will make the calls. We'll talk to the TAP offices. We already have in a lot of these, and they really, really like this idea. So the vet walks out. They're in the program now. They're not necessarily a testimony they went all the way through it. They're literally in the program now. We let them go act as our representation as employers, because that's what the TAP office does is, all right, come in, Amazon, and Amazon's HR person's there and say, let me tell you about Amazon. Here's the jobs we got available. Here's how you apply. And okay, next, here's Ford. And that's what they're good at, is introducing people to come in there. So when it comes to, ETAC, well, here comes Vet. And he stands up and says, I don't even know how it all works. But I was where you are last year.
That's right.
My life
6
sucked.
months ago.
I met these guys. It's getting better. Any questions? And now they can have a dialogue with somebody that's there. Automatically, the military people in the room are going to sit up because it's one of their peers. And they can let them know that something else is out here. Right. Yeah. They can let them know that something else is out here. And then we'll take care of all of that. So we want a little time in it. We're not trying to use the vets as a free sales force. It's kind of more of a just get the word out and let people know it's there. If they have an option, they're going to come up and talk to you. At the same time, it's not a bad way to present a vet to local companies that are hiring in his area while he's presenting to other vets. He may get a job offer while he's there from the other company.
The Amazon right. HR person.
So it serves multiple purposes, but right. It's a little way for us to, and the transition officer's like, incredible. Why has nobody ever thought about having vets come in and literally like give testimony?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what they need the most anyway, is to just know what's out there, but be able to trust it too. And I've been driving around in the dirt in Afghanistan for the last 6 months, and you're an HR guy wearing a tie, you're all dressed up, you look all pretty, and I don't even know how to talk to you. I honestly, I'm afraid to talk to you. So I'm just going to kind of sit here and nod, then you're going to go away, and then the HR people leave and go, I don't know why we don't get more response out of the military. It's because there's no connection, and and companies could follow this. I'm hoping over time that honestly, the Amazon guy leaves and goes back and goes, that was pretty cool. Why don't we do that? Why don't we send some of our vets in here to talk?
Yeah, but we all know that testimonies are what sell.
Yeah.
Even if you're mopping a floor, it's the mom who's mopping the floor that says, this thing doesn't hurt my back. It's the testimony that sells products or services. So I love that model because, like you said, it keeps them engaged. They're feeling like they're contributing.
Right.
And they're also helping the future veterans who are coming out. So it's a massive win-win in my mind.
Yeah, they get to, so they don't even feel like it's just a loan now. Now they start to look at it as like,
they're doing work for it.
Well, you kind of owe me for that $500. That's what we want. We want to introduce that kind of, that mentality in their brain that you're worth something right now, because either I'm an idiot and I don't care about my company, or I see something in you because you're representing my company.
Yeah.
And
right.
and it all builds into that self-worth of what they're doing and get that respect back.
For sure.
We did this with the courses that we picked. I obviously went out and looked at the market, and I wanted to go as far opposite as the programs that I see out there now, which those programs look and say, what is the cheapest thing we could put in here? What's the cheapest for us to deliver?
And make the most money.
And get the highest profit margin as we can, because this GI Bill thing is just this endless flood of money.
It's free money.
If we can figure out a 70-80% profit margin model on this thing is just going to pay forever. I want to go the opposite way with it. I'm like, how do I get companies to eventually look at me and say, you're an outstanding source of talent, so we're just going to come to you for IT because we know you put the time in them, we invest in them, and you're giving them the skills that we actually need. So you got it right. You listen to us. But the other reason I picked some of these certifications is I've spent the last 10 years of my life having people call me up. I mean, I built a business around it, a successful business, of people that call me and say, can I have this class? And I say, yes, you can, and this is how much. And they go, okay. And then they call me back and they say, my boss won't pay for it. It's too much. And I go, well, maybe next year. That's the corporate model.
Yeah.
But what does it mean now for that guy that's literally, some civilian employers, it's part of their salary. You get 1 week of training that's part of your salary. And how many times did I would be on the phone with guys that go, I haven't had training in like 3 years. Because at the end of the year wasn't so great. And I said, yeah, well, we're doing no training budget this year.
Yeah. You
don't go anywhere because you still got a job. So it's one of those soft benefits.
But she's not able to progress up.
Right. So now if I take a vet and I train him into things that these other engineers on their team have been wanting, I tell this story to him. I said, listen, a year from now, I want you looking at your manager in your team and say, guys, I can't be in that conference call next week because I'm in a 4-hour, my class is on Mondays for 4 hours this time. And they're going, well, weren't you in class on Tuesdays last week? What are you taking now? Oh, I'm taking this advanced Cisco data center course.
I need that.
I've been asking for that class for 3 years. I can't get it. How do you do that? And I said, and there's one response I want you to do. chin up, chest out, bow your arms, say, because I raised my hand when you didn't. I did something to serve the country, and there's companies out there that are helping me because of it. And that pride of service is a big thing for me to get back out there, because I can't stand that every vet that you see has their head down. They walk around like they're convicts or homeless, looking just, what can I get? What can I settle with? And we don't have to be that way. We do not. We did something very
honorable. Yeah,
very honorable, and we did it well. Yeah. And we're not done. You know, I know a lot of people go through a lot of combat and things like this, but being in that special ops, special forces kind of world most of my life, I look at a lot of guys that come out, and they've been through stuff that you don't want to see on the movie. But they also have no ability to quit inside them. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what's defined them. Mm. So all we need to do out here is just simply, you know, give the guy a break. You know, you're climbing a mountain. He's a better climber than I am. He's just tired. Pull him up one step, and he'll probably carry you the rest of the way up, type thing. It's not charity. It's not homelessness. It's not a begging with a cup. It's just he needs a boost, and we can do that. That's what I like about what we're doing.
Well, yeah, I am so excited about this partnership that we've created, that we Victory for Veterans can assist in the early stages. We don't have any IT stuff to help with the rest of it, but you're right. We're tying into the TAPS offices to get them in front of future attendees into the program who are transitioning out, corporations who need these services dramatically. We don't have time to really talk about the cool thing you're doing on that side, which is amazing, to attract the employers who will then bring in the vets. So you're putting all the pieces together so that employers want this, the veterans want it, and the other engineers want it. Right. And the TAPS people want it, and the Department of Labor wants it. So what's being created is amazing, and we've already heard that from many people going, wow, this is absolutely incredible. So,
well, I like it going the other way too, Steve, is that I can stay 100% focused on what I know how to do, and yet know that I'm still just one spoke in your bigger wheel, so that, you know, I can help them have hope. I can help them have a future. I can give them skills, get them in the market. I can do that piece. Right. I can own it. But if they are losing their house, if they are doing this, if they are going through, you know, because one of the things you also don't have there in that couple months is you may have been out long enough that, I mean, we meet people that have been out for 3 years and don't have a job. I mean, they've been unemployed for that long. Health insurance, all this stuff is gone. It's gone. So you get sick, your kids get sick. You know, you can be in some pretty serious situations pretty quickly. And I can't solve it, but I'm a very roll up my sleeves kind of, you know, executives. So I actually personally talk to every one of these vets. Every one of them. We'll always do that. I might be on conference calls for most of my life, but I meet them in the beginning, the initial sessions that we do with them. I talk to all of them. I try to get out and meet as many of them. But you know what? The reason I do that, Steve, is because I'll never be able to screw them over as long as I'm listening to their stories.
Yeah, stories are amazing.
But if I did this by myself, I wouldn't be able to help a lot of them because they're doing things that are beyond my capacity. Yeah. So I love the fact that I can turn around and say, you know, we did this last week. We want to go right here, but we did last week. We had this call, and we're on till midnight. Yeah. Let's rally the horse because you have so many connections with so many other.
We found 3 resources that within 2 hours we had folks on the call,
and it honestly could have saved a life.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own, you know. And that's a huge thing that I have the red Batman phone that I can pick up and go, we got somebody in trouble. Let's.
I like that.
You know,
Batman phone.
Well, you look at what's common in all the special ops, special forces. We always, you know, wear it on our badge on our sleeve that you don't leave a guy behind. Okay. And I like that you are giving me the capability to do that. You know, you're the medevac, and I can call in at any time type of thing, and that's really important because these guys don't just have one problem. It's as if some of them, in some ways, they feel the world's collapsing, and that's got a lot of aspects to it. You know,
I don't know any of them that has just one issue. I just spoke with a gal today, a wife of a Army vet who's 80% disabled, and she started mentioning all the things. And you brought it up earlier about fighting the VA, fighting the Department of Labor, and I do feel like I'm fighting, not because they're not doing a good job. In some cases they're not, in some cases they're doing a great job. But to understand the system of the VA, understand the pension. We've helped people understand just the pension.
Yeah.
We have a pension guy who says over half of folks who are in the pension age aren't getting what they need.
Yeah.
That's just one example of fighting the system, learning how to navigate and find the resources to say, no, go left, don't go right. And this gal's, she has 3 autistic children, and she's fighting to get health care and health benefits. So yeah, that's just an example.
Well, and it's a tough world out there. I was
Yeah.
talking to a lady the other day that's kind of in our circles, and she was like, the problem is there's a lot of people trying to help, but they're all trying to build some sort of business out of it. And then you end up with so much inner competition between nonprofits and things like this, because oh no, wait, I can help you with your problem more than they can help you with their problem. The problem is now nobody's helping them with the problem. And I know I didn't want to be in that space. That was one of the reasons I chose to stay a normal for-profit company and not follow the nonprofit kind of functionality. Is I wanted the freedom. I wanted the power. I wanted to go up and say, no, I don't have the option of not doing this right.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do this right, I go bankrupt.
Yep.
So
That's right.
I'm going to keep myself held to that. But I love this whole, this idea of a cooperative or a coalition that we can build.
That's right.
That, we're talking about people. We're not talking about use cases. We're not talking about sales opportunities. We're talking about human beings, their wives, their kids,
That's right.
the real problems.
Yep.
And maybe I can help with this. I got dad, you got the kids, you got this, or vice versa. I got mom, you got dad. We got all kinds of different things like that.
That's
I think some of the partnerships that we're building outside of just even us that we're bringing together, that hopefully we can talk about at some point, that we can kind of get those out there more and more.
That's right.
There's some really good people out there, and vets should start to hear that there are some companies out there that are preying on them, and they should have their guard up.
That's right.
But there's a lot more companies out there that are just other vets that own companies. They're people that see a problem and they're just trying to do their way to help it.
That's right.
You can't get through your pension here. Well, I meet somebody over here he's probably got more than he should have got out of his pension. We got people that really know how to work the system, and people that literally will walk away from a benefit. I mean, that's one of my stories to these vets. I didn't use the VA home loan. I've never been in a VA hospital. I lost all my GI Bill, didn't use a dime of it. The first time that I called a VA office and had a more than 5-minute conversation was about 8 months ago, and it was telling them what I did not like about how their program was running and asking for the leverage to go do it the right way.
Uh-huh.
And, when I got to looking at that, I can make a call to a congressman's office. I mean, I got a call, an email and a call the other day from a letter that I sent to the White House, which I thought was just going to go in the bucket, but figured, what the heck, I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah.
There's some clout of being a company. There's a clout of having, somewhat of a cause and connections. And, my LinkedIn profile can do a little bit, because these guys they go, look, who's the letter from? Who's this company? Who am I? They spend a month researching to decide whether or not they're going to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that means I can do something that maybe that individual vet that would have just given up can do. So I really like that, and I really appreciate that we're doing that together.
We call it partnering. We don't want to compete with any nonprofit. There's no point of reinventing the wheel.
Right.
There's somebody who can do it. Okay, you help this vet. You can do this. Great, you help this vet. But it's all focused on the vet.
Right.
We say we serve veterans in need, one veteran at a time. And I've told many veterans, we're not going to just help you with one thing. I'm going to talk to you for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Why are you in this situation? You're having a financial crisis. Why? Oh, you lost your job. Okay, tell me about that. Oh, you're not getting enough disability. There's many connections that we want to get them whole. The balanced life and the whole, everything whole. But hey, well, I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too.
About our future and our partnership and helping vets, either at usveteranjobs.com or victoryforveterans.org. You can find out how to participate in this program. whether it's volunteering with Victory for Veterans or helping Terry and his crew out. But we're all about veterans, and this is Thanksgiving Day, actually. Happy Thanksgiving, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll catch you around the next corner.